Oh, there is an unholy glare reflecting off my glasses. God damn it. Hey, bookworms, welcome back. I had to take the glasses off. They weren't working. I love those glasses, but apparently I'm not going to be able to film with them, or I'm going to have to figure out how I can wear my glasses in peace and also film. Welcome to my bedroom and the bare walls within this bedroom, my marital bed. I know it looks like, a dungeon. It looks like a hostel in here. I do have things I want to, pictures and posters and stuff I want to put on my wall, but like frames are expensive. Frames are very expensive. And also I am lazy. But anyways, so it's the end of June, so it's time for a wrap up, or my very first wrap up. So I'm just going to talk to you guys about all the books I read during the month of June. June is Pride Month, therefore all the books I read were about queer characters and by queer authors. I sadly did not hit the whole queer spectrum this time. I will remedy that with future reads and most definitely by the time next June rolls around for Pride. But I unfortunately did not read any books about trans characters, intersex characters, or asexual characters. Again, that's something I totally intend to fix in the future, not just for Pride Month, but throughout my reading. I have a master list of books that I totally intend to read throughout this whole experience, and a lot of them are by trans people, about trans people. Same thing with intersex people and asexual people. I don't think I have anything with anyone that's gender fluid. I'm going to have to, we'll go through the books and see if I can remember if there's any characters that are gender fluid, but I don't think so. Again, my bad. I really should have spent more time in trying to have better representation of the queer community in my reading, and that's something I'll totally fix in the future going forth. Okay, so let's just dive into the books I did read. So the first book I read in the month of June for Pride Month was Julie Murphy's Pumpkin. Julie Murphy is also the author of Dumpling and Pudding. I have not read Dumpling or Pudding, but I did see the movie adaptation of Dumpling that's on Netflix, starring Danielle McDonald and Jennifer Aniston, who plays her mother. It's cuter than I thought. It held my attention more than I thought it would. I thought it was going to be something that I could just totally take a nap through, but I ended up really liking it, and I thought it was adorable. So if you get a moment, please check it out. I try to watch anything Danielle McDonald's in because I just love her. I think she's great. I even kind of want to see her in that movie she's in with Jamie Bell, where they're like this skinhead Nazi couple. I know what that sounds like, but I heard the movie's really good, and I heard that they're both really good in it. It's on Amazon Prime. It's in my watch list on Amazon Prime. Anyway, we're not here for a rant about Danielle McDonald's filmography. We're going to talk about Julie Murphy's Pumpkin. So, Julie Murphy's Pumpkin. I have not read a YA, a young adult novel, and God knows how long. Honestly, probably since high school. Once I graduated high school, I got real snooty with my reading picks. If you can hear that lawnmower, I apologize. I'll try to talk louder, but they are mowing the grass in my area and also fixing the back fence, and it's been this loud. Not a lawnmower, it's a leaf blower. I grew up and I got very picky and choosy about the type of books I wanted to read, and YA didn't make the cut. So this is probably really just me jumping full back into YA for the very first time in God knows how long. And it was a great jumping off point. It was very good. I give this book 3.5 stars. The reason it's not 4 stars is, something nitpicky, which we'll get to. The book is about Pumpkin, who's, oh, hold on. I forgot his real name. Waylon. The book is about Waylon, who goes by the name Pumpkin. Pumpkin is his drag name. So Waylon is obsessed with drag queens, drag shows, drag culture, and has created a drag persona by the name of Pumpkin, which is a nickname his mother calls him by. Waylon one night gets in his feelings about a situation between him and his twin sister that's unfolding, and it's very unfortunate. And creates this audition tape for his favorite drag show. And unfortunately, the video ends up in the hands of his classmates, who some of them are bullies, some of them are supporters, but the bullies take it as an opportunity to try and embarrass him even further by nominating him for prom court as one of the nominees for prom queen. Waylon's in his last year, his senior year, and then he's done. Like, he is just one of those people that's like, I cannot wait till graduation day to where I don't have to see any of you cretins anymore. And bitch, same. I was the exact same way. Like, you could not tell me nothing senior year. I was just ready to go. I was ready to go to college and start this whole new life. And that's where Waylon's at. Waylon's like, I am ready to get out of small town Texas. Also, really quick, let me just say that this book takes place in the same, I don't want to say universe, but Waylon goes to the exact same school that the characters from Dumpling and Pudding go to. And those characters actually come in and out, weave in and out of the story as well, and end up making friends with Waylon, which I think is great. So yeah, it's kind of within the same universe. The video ends up in bully's hands, and they sees it as an opportunity to kind of clown on him. And Waylon is not even upset. He's just annoyed at the whole situation. And, he's just like, very funny guys, whatever. Because again, he is just like, he's mentally checked out. He's like, I'm done with these people. Fuck this town. Fuck these people. I'm out. I'm going to Austin, and I'm going to live my best drag ass life. But Waylon's sister's girlfriend, she the same thing happens to her. She's very mask presenting lesbian. She ends up nominated for prom king as a joke, and instead of letting it get to her or even bother her, she's just like, well then bitch, I'll be your prom king. And she just decides to go full force with it and do all the things that's necessary to do to win prom king and to be on the prom court. And Waylon just admires that so much about her. And she's just like, you know what? Yeah, let's do this. Like, fuck these people, fuck this bullshit. We're on our way out anyway, so let's do this. So Waylon's like, yeah, you want to nominate me for prom queen? I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna show up and drag when I do it. So that's the whole book is about Waylon becoming more comfortable publicly with his drag persona. There's also a romance between him and a classmate in here, which is a little frustrating because I was with Waylon feeling it, because the boy he happens to have feelings for and seems to have feelings for him is given so many mixed signals. Like, the boy is just a bag of emotions, and I totally get that it's probably extremely hard coming out for him or being open about his emotions for Waylon or any other boy. And so there's just a whole lot of back and forth that drives Waylon crazy, and therefore drives you, the reader, crazy as well, because you're like, what is the deal with this boy? Do you like Waylon or not? Like, what is all this, hate me, love me, kiss me, don't push me away? Overall, I give this book 3.5 stars. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was very cute. It was a very fun read. The reason it's not 4 stars or even 5 stars is because the third act felt less literary and more cinematic. I would rather there have been some things that weren't fixed. But I totally get why they were. And even though they were, it was still cute. It's just I wanted a more grounded ending than the one that we got, but still overall, I thought it was a great book. I absolutely love this cover. I love this rainbow cummerbund, which he does wear in the book. Oh my God, so cute. So yeah, I highly recommend Julie Murphy's Pumpkin. The second book that I read this in the month of June for Pride Month was Everina Maxwell's Winter's Orbit. Let me describe to you how the book was described to me and tell me you wouldn't pick that up. A gay romantic political thriller set in space. One more time. Gay romantic political thriller set in space. That's all I needed. That's all the description that I needed and I wanted, and I grabbed it and I picked it up. And look at this book cover. Look at this book cover. It's a gorgeous book cover. Tell me, with that small little tidbit of description in this book cover, you wouldn't be like, you know what? Yes, ma'am. Yes, that's all that was needed to be added to the list. And I gave it 3.5 stars. First off, let's just start with the fact that it is heavy on the political thriller and very light on the romance. And I wish I knew that going in. Like, pretty much the political thriller is the A plot. I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't have an issue with that had I known from the beginning that the romance was going to be very slow build and very slow burn. And also, the romance has a lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding. And let me tell you something. That is my least favorite trope in romance. I cannot, I absolutely hate when I cannot stand in a 300-page book for 290 pages, the two leads, the two characters engaged in the romance are not talking to each other about whatever the hell it is that they're misunderstanding or miscommunicating about. And it's not until page 290 that one of them breaks and they're like, fuck it, we need to discuss this. Oh my God. And then the last 5 pages is just them quickly making up and wrapping up this story. No, ma'am. No, ma'am, I can't stand that. And once I started realizing that that's what was happening here, I was I was this close to DNF in this book because, like I said, I cannot stand that trope. It is tired. We are too grown for this. Like, no, absolutely not. But I stuck with it, and I'm glad I did because I got to find out why exactly there was all this miscommunication and misunderstanding between their two characters. And once you do, once that reveal happens, you're like, okay, got it. There is just 1.5 love scenes in this whole book. Disappointing. The half love scene comes in the beginning and it stops abruptly because the two characters are misunderstanding each other's cues, which I totally get because, consent is key. And also another nitpicky thing about the book that kind of irritated me was, bitch, we still doing classism in the future in space? Like, we still got isms in space in the future? Like, and it's not even just this book. It's a lot of like sci-fi and fantasy that do this, and it just irks me, especially given the world in which we live in, where Star Trek is a thing. The whole premise of Star Trek is that, the human race and all these different type of alien races put aside all these isms that were holding them back in order to explore the outer reaches of space, in order to explore the universe and other dimensions and multiverses. Just all of that didn't matter anymore because the thing we're after, the greater thing we're after, is knowledge, and the knowledge of our world and our world expanded and beyond. And I love that. That is why Star Trek will always be, I think, important. So I kind of get annoyed in sci-fi and fantasy when we still have this bullshit, when we still have classism, racism, sexism, homophobia, like xenophobia, ageism. Like, what are we doing? Like, and that's the thing about sci-fi and fantasy that drives me crazy. You can tell any story you want. You have created this world. It is your world to build, and it is your world to fill with characters. And bitch, this is what we're doing. We still got classism 3,000 years from now in motherfucking space. And just the idea of like 3,000 years from now, we still doing the same shit feels so draining. I just didn't feel like reading that. I just did not feel like reading that in a sci-fi gay romance novel. So yeah, that's kind of why points were shaved a little bit. But I do still highly recommend this book. I liked it a lot. Just go into it knowing that the romance is very light, and it's a good ride. It's really nice. Oh, and also, real quick, I do not know if Everina Maxwell has ever been involved in fan fiction writing. I don't know if she's ever written Dream Husbands fanfic. I don't know if she has ever been involved in Inception fandom, but immediately reading that story, I was like, Arthur? Eames, is that you? Is this Inception fanfic? Because it read like it. These two characters felt very familiar. They felt very much like two people that I know and love, and that's honestly the biggest reason that kept me from DNFing it, when I felt like there was just way too much miscommunication and misunderstanding. Like, I was this close to being like, I am not going to finish this because I am over these two and their bullshit. But feeling as though they were stand-ins for Arthur and Eames, and having reveals slowly expose themselves throughout the story, I was just kind of like, okay, I'll stick it out. But yeah, this felt like some fanfic. This felt like Arthur and Eames. This felt like Dream Husbands. I ain't mad at it. I'm not. I'm just saying, if it is, thumbs up. I'm just putting that out there. The third book that I read during the month of June is Alyssa Cole's How to Find a Princess. I have never read an Alyssa Cole book. Don't at me. I have heard sis talked about beautifully through YouTube by booktubers and on Twitter by book readers and alike, and especially romance readers and other romance authors. So I was like, I need to get my shit together and get my Alyssa Cole on. Same thing with Talia Hibbert. Don't at me. I know. I'm fixing that. I am going to fix that. I'm going to bring some more Alyssa Cole and Talia Hibbert into my life. Black women writing romance novels. Here for it. I absolutely love it, especially given both women, from what I understand, include a lot of diversity in their stories. And I want more of that. I want all of that. And speaking of which, in How to Find a Princess, Bez is neurodivergent. So there's disability rep within the story as well. So that's fantastic. But yeah, that's Makita and Bez. And Makita is time out really quick. Can we look at this cover? Like, two sexy Black lesbians are on the cover, and one's a secret African princess. And look at that height difference. Look at that. Like, Makita's like 5'3", or supposedly in the novel, like she's talked about like she's damn near a little person. And Beth is always talked about like she's a skyscraper, and I think she's about almost 6 foot. And like, that is sexy. That is beautiful. Like, give me that. Like, yes, ma'am. The story is about Makita, who is a secret African princess, something that she has known her entire life, and has caused so many problems. She is the descendant of an African queen, and it's something she's known her entire life and caused a lot of issues and problems within her family her entire life, and it has caused an extremely strained relationship between her and her mother. Really quick, that's also one of the reasons why I absolutely love this story. It is very adult. It is a very adult romance. It is very mature. That's what I mean by adult, not necessarily like steamy, sexy situations, even though there's some in here that are great, absolutely fantastic. But I mean, as far as maturity goes, there are issues of miscommunication and misunderstanding, and and a lot of that is due to in the second act there being some fake dating going on, which is also, honest to God, a trope I can't stand. I probably hate fake dating second to miscommunication and misunderstanding. So you already know that I probably wasn't happy when that direction was happening, but the story turned it around, and it did so because it's a very adult romance. And that what I love the most is that, you know, Nikita or Bez would misunderstand something or miscommunicate about something and get all up in their feelings, and then realize this is dumb. We are grown. We're grown-ass women. We're a grown-ass Black woman. Why are we acting like children? Let's talk this out. So it was kind of like a back and forth. Like they'd have miscommunication, get all up in their feelings, and then talk it out and then fix it. But then another thing would happen, and so forth and so on. And that was mainly all, you know, due to the issues of fake dating, and also because, you know, they both had their own motivations. But I didn't hate it. It has two of my least favorite tropes in here, and I actually really truly enjoyed it. I really had a good time with this book. The only reason this book is in 5 stars is because the third act ended up being a bit on the predictable side, and it felt kind of rushed. But other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I really like it. Alyssa Cole is definitely somebody whose books I will continue and keep on reading. And I encourage you, if you have not picked up one of her books yet, to do so. And starting with How to Find a Princess is a good start. The fourth book I read this month is Ship It by Britta London. And let me just tell you off the bat, 5 stars. 5 stars. I love this book. I absolutely love this book. I know it's supposed to be a YA romance, but I think it's so much more than that. I think it's very mature for the genre in which it sits. I want to talk more in depth about it, so we're going to do that in a separate video. I'm not going to say too much about it in this particular video because I want to give it its own video, because that's how much I really like the book and I would really like to discuss it. Again, like I said, I'm not an essayist, so it's not going to be anything of that nature. It's not going to be a highly intellectual talk about it. It's just going to be me, you know, on a tangent about why I really resonated with this book and why I liked it a lot. I just thought it was so good. The 5th book I read this month for Pride is Cat Sebastian's The Ruin of a Rake. I absolutely loved it. 4.5 stars. Fantastic. It's my first Cat Sebastian book, and I will continue reading Sis in the future because this was great. I thoroughly enjoyed my time reading it. I had so much fun reading it. I was in it. 4.5 stars. It's great. Okay, so The Ruin of a Rake is about Lord Courtney, who is a rake, and Sis is he. He is Mr. Bitches. He belongs to these streets. Lord Courtney is having a hot girl summer, and he has had several before. Unfortunately, hot girl summer has come to an end for him, given that someone in London, some secret someone, has written a book about him. Now, it's not directly about him, but everybody in London knows who this veiled character it's based on is, and it's Lord Courtney. And unfortunately, that book has made its way into his brother-in-law's hands, and his brother-in-law is highly upset about it because he's just kind of like, you can't be hanging around my son, your nephew Simon, acting this way. You got dirt all out here. Everybody in London knows who this book is about, and this is what you're doing with your time. His best friend, Eleanor, who decides to take it upon herself by asking her brother Julian for help. Now, Julian is a very conservative, very stoic self-made businessman who's also, a very pretentious social climber. And Julian has a lot of social capital. And she asks Julian to spend some of that social capital on making friends with Lord Courtney and helping him gain his relationship with his nephew Simon back. Because if people in London see that Julian is someone who's willing to get to know Lord Courtney, spend time with him, they are friends, he can use that social capital to gain respectability amongst the ton in London and get back his quality time, his relationship with his nephew Simon. So Lord Courtney and Julian, reluctantly become friends, and then they become real friends, and then a romance forms. And sis, that is when the drama happens. Because stupid boys and their stupid feelings who can't communicate about their stupid fucking feelings. The only reason this book is 4.5 stars and not 5 stars is something that is my problem, not Cat Sebastian's. I created my own disappointment with something, and that is that I had assumed that Cat Sebastian wrote historical novels that didn't have isms or phobias. I assumed that her historical novels were kind of like J.L. Langley's, in which they're within this world, homophobia is something that does not exist. But no, Cat Sebastian does the historical in historical romance. I don't have an issue with that. That's totally fine. It works very well. I love when characters have both internal and external conflicts that they have to get through. I just unfortunately had made an assumption that's my fault, not Cat Sebastian's, about the book. But unfortunately, it created my own slight disappointment with it. So that's the only reason the book is 4.5 stars and not 5 stars. The sixth and final book I read during the month of June for Pride is Elsie Rosen's Camp. I was so excited to read this book out of everything that was on my list this month, and I was not disappointed. It's so cute. It's so sweet. It breaks your hearts in places, and it lifts you up in places, and it's just seriously an adorable read and a very quick read, and despite it being damn near 400 pages, but that's something I'll get to in a second. But overall, I enjoyed my time reading it, and I did not regret it. And look at this cover. Look at this cover. That is why I grabbed it. So Camp tells a story about 16-year-old Randy who attends a queer camp every summer. It's a camp for LGBTQIA+ persons. Let me tell you something. If that's not something that doesn't already exist, it needs to exist. Queer kids, marginalized people need their own spaces, and they need their own safe spaces, which this book highlights and does talk about, and I absolutely love. And it's quite possibly the entire central theme of it, about these kids needing these spaces to grow and be safe and to completely and 100% be themselves, because sometimes they're just not allowed to do that out there in the, I don't want to say the real world, but the non-queer world. Randy goes to this camp every summer, and he has been in love with this boy named Hudson, who attends the camp every summer as well. Hudson is a masked, straight acting gay boy, and Randy is very femme. So before the book begins, Randy spends the entire year losing weight, working out, being fit, trying to be interested in sports, doing all these quote unquote masculine things. That way, by the time camp rolls around, when the book starts, he has gained Hudson's attention, and it works. Hudson also has a reputation of being, it's not even a playboy. Hudson is in the streets. Hudson has a hot girl summer every damn summer at this camp. So Randy's whole plan is to get Hudson to fall in love with him, or this mask presenting, straight acting version of himself, and then let Hudson know, okay, I'm actually Randy, who's been going to this camp with you for forever, who's very femme, and kind of wean Hudson off of his fake personality and bring him closer to his real personality. The ending of the book, I absolutely loved. I thought we were headed towards this, really cheesy, slightly predictable rom-com ending. The ending does acknowledge that it's a lot more complicated than that for queer kids, and I thoroughly appreciated that, because 90% of the book I was just kind of like, oh man, this is going to have an ending that's, you know, just a little too cheesy for me, a little too wrapped up in a nice bow for me, especially given the subject matter and the questions and the conversations raised throughout the book. The author kind of understood that, like, I can't end it like every other YA romance out here, because regardless of how lovely and sweet this book is, these kids are different from straight kids, and they're not going to have the same advantages in romance, unfortunately, that they get. I thoroughly appreciated that. And that's kind of what I was looking for with Pumpkin when I say I wanted a more literary, more grounded ending instead of a cinematic one. So one of the reasons that this book is 4 stars for me and not 5 is because it is long. It is damn near 400 pages. It's a quick read. It's a very light read. It's very sweet. You can breeze through this, honestly. However, I just felt like 370 pages of this was it was a little unnecessary. This book honestly could have been wrapped up in about 275, 300. And the irony is, this book does not span a long period of time. I mean, when you think of camp, when you think of summer camp, you're thinking what, like 3 months, like 2.5 months? No, Randy and Hudson fall in love in like 2 weeks. That is the essence of young love. That's what happens when you're 16 and in love. You like when you're 16 and in love, like 2 weeks feels like forever. And 2 weeks feels like, you know, a marriage. And 2 weeks is nothing to fall in love with somebody. The book feels like it takes forever, but then once you read certain passages, you're just kind of like, it's been 3 weeks? We're going through all this drama in 3 weeks? That's a lot. That's a lot, Randy and Hudson. That's a lot. So that's going to do it. That is all 6 books that I read in June. This video is longer than I thought it would be, especially given I only talked about 6 books. But I like to talk books, and I like to talk books with other people, and I'm glad I have this platform in which I get to do that now. I will try and tighten up these videos a lot more so you don't get half-hour videos on 6 books. But if you like books the way I like books, then a half hour will just breeze by. Then a half hour is nothing. I hope that some of these books interest you. I hope you take my reviews to heart and, you know, pick them up and spend some time with these wonderful, beautiful characters. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll see you soon. Keep reading sexy bookworms, and please, 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 always, always, always pay your library fines. Night.